Hey guys, how you doing? Um, so I wanted to expand a little bit on what we were talking about with God. I wanted to expand on that a little bit because I got a lot of positive feedback. Just wanted to read you something from my first book, Into the Rabbit Hole Beneath the Veil. Scientists have determined through completion of the Genome Project that humans are roughly 99.7% identical DNA wise. Two penguins are more genetically different than you and I are. Whomever finds this, I want you to try this experiment. Write your name down. Write your two parents' names down above yours. Now you have four grandparents, eight great grandparents, and go on. Let's go back 35 generations. It will roughly take you back to the year 840 AD. You will have 137 billion people. The number of ancestors list reminds me of the story of the servant summoned by the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh was pleased with how the servant was doing and wanted to reward him. Serving you is all I desire, sir, the servant insisted. No, I insist you ask for something, anything you desire, the Pharaoh said back. This went back and forth until the Pharaoh got mad and threatened punishment. After thinking long and hard, the servant said, seeing a chessboard in front of him, he said, on day one, I want one piece of rice. On the second, I want two. Each day you will double the previous days until the chessboard is complete. I will place a grain on each square representing each day completed. The first day, the Pharaoh sent his finest servant in a parade with a golden pouch to deliver the grain. The amount grew exponentially, and halfway through the board, there was no more grain in the land. The Pharaoh summoned the servant back in. Your Highness, all I ever wanted to do was serve you, replied the servant. The servant, although now the wealthiest man in all the land, had retained his hubris. It was there that the Pharaoh learned not to question humility or assume that given material gifts as tokens of appreciation were all that mattered. As for the servant, he continued to work for the Pharaoh. However, he had taken all the rice and continued to feed all the poor and the homeless until the day of his death. The point of both of these stories is that simple math. In fact, it's how cells divide in your body and mass produce. The reason I stopped at this particular time frame is because it's roughly how many people it's been calculated that have ever lived on planet Earth. 140 billion people, that is. Even if we take the Bible literally, we still need to get to October 23rd, 4004 BCE. So we're in a bit of a pickle here. There needs to be a way to bridge the gap, and this is where the pedigree collapse comes in. It's the theory called the pedigree collapse theory. So the concept states that there is no other explanation other than a whole lot of incest. Sometimes, in the case of the Kentucky Blue people, for example, there are no branches on the family tree. Sometimes, like in the banking or royal families, it is to preserve money or special genetics. Based on our DNA, geneticists say that the farthest point one person can be on this planet from another is 50th cousins. If your mom was from country X and your dad was from country X as well, there's a 20% chance they share a common ancestor within 10 generations back. So, what does this all mean? Well, in a nutshell, it means far back enough back, we are all related and all one, and we should start to act like it. Let's explore different cognitive viewpoints. How about from a creationist point of view then? Well, we all came from Adam and Eve, technically Eve from Adam's rib, and even more technically, Adam was made from mud and dirt from the world God created. So we all go back to one. How about from an evolutionist then? Okay, let's start with the Big Bang, let alone the fact that all the material we are came from an infinitesimally dense singularity, and nobody seems to want to explain where that singularity came from, but we'll let that slide. We were all one at one point. How about the idea of source energy then? I'll try. If our souls are like crumbs off a cookie, then the cookie being the source, God, whatever you want to call it, then we are all connected multidimensionally. And upon death, it will be a vibrational change of frequency back to it. So let's try one last example, aliens placing us here. You would still have to account for the first humans and how we all came about. You don't just magically have a species, poof, we're here. Or do you? If so, who created the first test group of people? Secondly, what about the first spirit consciousness of DNA that evolved this level of higher thinking? There is a big difference between what I am writing and a monkey who's fed up with people taking pictures of him and throwing shit at them. Still, though, the point is at some point, things had to come back to a singularity in the sense of one source of point. Humans are so quick to think of the end of the world, things ending, but what they can't do is think about the beginning or if there's something at the beginning. So I just wanted to share that with you. That was a revelation in one of my books by one of my characters who's no longer alive. And what I wanted to share with you is that as my favorite quote that I have out there is a quote from Picasso. Okay. And Picasso said the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away, which is what I'm trying to do with my book series and everything that I've been working towards. Now, when you're talking about God as the everything, you have to understand the reason everything exists the way it does is this. You are infinite. You are above space and time. So you know what's going to happen if you create something ahead of time. So this comes into the whole conversation of free will, right? Do you have free will? Well, yes, you have free will. Okay. You have free will in the sense that you get to make your decisions. Just because an overarching creator is outside of space and time and can see what you're going to do doesn't mean you don't have free will. Okay. Now, the idea is that God is the source of everything. So why do we exist? Well, if you're everything, literally good and bad, as Isaiah says in 45:7, okay, I create the good and the bad, the light and the dark, I, the Lord, do all these things. If you're everything, literally everything, because we talked about last one how God is literally everything and we're just a part of it. Okay. There is nothing to do if you're everything at a higher level because you're everything. Okay. So what do? You create yourself as beings of amnesia, okay, that come down and experience a 3D plane of space and time and experience yourself one way or another. Creation is an illusion. Okay. This space and time and this body that we are, this gender and sexuality that we are, it's all an illusion. Okay. The idea is that we're playing out what everything is, and everything is God. Okay. So that's basically what it is. We exist because we have to. We're literally, every time you look at something, every time you make a decision, every time you do something, you're literally giving God, who's the overarching everything, an experience. Okay. To experience. Okay. That's what consciousness is. So please comment. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if you want me to continue doing spirituality things or just some more decodings. And please let me know what you think. Please comment. It really helps the algorithm. Thank you.